States.
Both UN and United Nations who all of them are shookers. Because all of them know the problem of this country.
Beijing, Moscow to Abuja, London to Kigali. The world is shifting fast. Elections are shaping destinies. Wars are redrawing borders. Economies are rising and falling. And global alliances are being tested like never before. But what does it all mean for you?
With a new administration and a new president in the White House trying to put an end to the war.
I didn't know the historical context, what the state of Israel means for them.
Join the fearless Ireti Bakare-Yusuf on Borderlines every Friday at 4 p.m. on Nigeria Info 99.3. As she dissects the biggest global events and their impact on world peace.
Those who are not familiar with Israel or the war itself would not know much about the group. Breaking the silence.
No spin, no propaganda, just deep insights and fearless conversations on the geopolitics shaping our world.
People who will call and start telling you about the Bible prophecy about America and everything. See, America is not in the Bible. There's some people who just share the ideology of, yes, we and these people, we are equal, but they can't speak up.
Borderlines on Nigeria Info every Friday at 4 p.m. The world is changing. Don't just watch, understand it. Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Good afternoon, Lagos, Nigeria, the diaspora, Israel, Palestine, London, wherever you're listening to us from. My name is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. It's been an incredible, that's all I can say, and I'm not going to break it down. It's one of those things that happens where it's providence. We have two of the best Jewish Israeli guests you will ever find. And it happens to be the same day, on the same Friday, pretty much an hour after the incredible speech by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. I don't have time to waste. No, you don't have time to waste. You will be able to call in at some point, when I open the lines, 0201 277 0993 0201 465 7190, and you can send a WhatsApp to 0809 597 5805. I didn't do my first show this afternoon because I had to watch Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So my first guest, let me tell you, he's gonna break it down like nobody else could. I can assure you of that. His name, not yet, let me tell you, he is uniquely placed to help us understand this moment. Notice what I said. He's a former officer in the Israeli Defense Force. He fought in Lebanon in 1978 and 1982 before leaving Israel, disillusioned by the occupation. Today, he is a senior lecturer in war studies at King's College London, the one I wished I had gone to, and one of the world's leading experts on the Arab-Israeli conflict. Of course, he's no other than Dr. Ahron Bregman. Welcome, Doctor. How are you?
I'm very well. The sun is shining. It stopped raining. So everything is okay in the United Kingdom at the moment.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So it's not too cold then?
Well, it is a bit chilly, but the sun is out. The flowers are blooming. So
great.
It is okay. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm presuming you watched. I mean, we didn't know this was going to happen when we booked your very valuable time to be here right now. But as Providence will have it, it has happened. You watched the speech by Prime Minister Netanyahu. What were your thoughts? Give us 2 minutes. Break it down. From the sublime to the ridiculous, if you can do it like that.
My first impression was that the hall was relatively empty because the moment he walked into the hall, many people, many delegates just walked out. So this was, wow, this was interesting to watch. The speech itself was very good because he's a very good public speaker. That's his strength. But I was disappointed, though not surprised, that, there was not a statement, something like, well, I'm going to announce a ceasefire today. It was not there. It was not there. So the speech was good, and the delivery was, as expected, excellent, but the message was very disappointing, and the war continues.
Indeed, the message was very disappointing, you say. Let me go back. The first thing you said was you were disappointed not to hear that he was, to hear about a ceasefire. For somebody of your experience and your knowledge, why would that disappoint you?
Well, it shows what we've seen for the last 2 years, that what Netanyahu wants is the war to continue. That's his goal. He is not interested in a ceasefire, and we could explain why. But I think that tactically, he is waiting for his meeting with Trump, which will happen, which will take place on Monday. And it's very much in Trump's hands. If he decides to say to Netanyahu, enough is enough, and my impression of that he's becoming impatient with Netanyahu and Israel. This is my impression. So if Trump on Monday decides to say, that's it, you have to stop now, then Netanyahu will have to probably change his plans. For now, he's continuing with the war. And while we are here, discussing it in a very civilized way in the Gaza Strip, it is very messy and bloody.
So, you've said pretty much what everybody has said, and has always said, that President Trump can put a stop to it. You also implied something in your response, that President Trump is possibly fed up. Am I correct? Why do you think that is? What do you think would make, because arguably you have, somebody like Trump who, is polarizing, to put it nicely, across the world. Also, amongst pro-Palestinian supporters, not voting for Kamala Harris, which doesn't necessarily mean supporting Trump. But some are saying, since you didn't support Kamala Harris because of what Biden did during, for what is now known as a genocide, that means that, well, you know what? You get Trump, and Trump is never going to support Palestine. Now, you're saying, or you've implied, that President Trump is really fed up. What has made him fed up? Is it that he's fed up with Israel? Is he fed up with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, or he's just fed up because this is going to stop him from getting the Nobel Peace Prize, which we know is the shiniest gift that he's praying for?
Well, you put your finger, in your last sentence on the right thing, but there is something else. I have a lot of criticism. I can criticize Trump for many things, but one thing that Trump is different and very good at is sensing the instincts of public and people. He's very good at it. And I think that he realizes, and rightly so, that Israel, Netanyahu, lost the international public. I'm not even talking about leaders now, but the public. So if you take a country like Italy, for example, very close to Israel, if you take a country like Germany, very close to Israel, you can see that the public there is very much not Israel, but anti-Israeli actions in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank too.
Right.
And the West Bank
yeah,
too.
Absolutely.
We can talk about it. We can talk about in a minute. And the leaders of these European countries cannot just say, "Okay, our public, the public is against, but we will continue to support Israel." They cannot. So you can see a shift, even in Italy, even in Germany, and even in the United States. And Trump, with his very strong instincts, understands it. He understands it. Now, the second thing, and you referred to it, is that for Trump, and we laugh at it sometimes, the Nobel Prize seems to be the most important thing that he wants to achieve, in his life or in his presidency, and it is understandable. And his little baby is a normalization which he managed to achieve between Israel and some other countries about 5 years ago, Bahrain, in other places, and Israel. He is concerned that if Israel continues to do whatever it is doing in the Gaza Strip, and if Israel, in response to the declaration of my Prime Minister here in the UK and the French president, and 140 countries, if they declared that they are going to recognize Palestine, the Israelis might react, for example, by annexing, by saying that some parts of the West Bank is going to be Israel. Trump is concerned that if the Israelis, if Netanyahu is going to do that, Trump will lose the Abraham Accords, which he achieved 5 years ago. And this is not very good for his Nobel Prize aspirations.
Indeed. And we have heard, of course, you mentioned the Abraham Accord. One of the things we have heard is the likes of Saudi Arabia, who were one of the first to sign on to it, have said, look, it's in jeopardy. If you allow the West Bank, the annexation of the West Bank to go ahead, that's our red line, and the accord falls apart. Perhaps it's then a good time to talk about the Arabs. I would like you, without even asking a direct question, without actually framing the question, let me just ask you directly, Ahron. Qualify the behavior, the response, the actions of the Arab League, by extension, the Muslim countries for us.
You see, before the 7th October attack, before Hamas attacked Israel, the idea of a Palestinian state was off the table, and everyone was fine with it. So all of a sudden, it is on the table, and Muslim countries, I believe in Africa too, not only in the Middle East, are very strongly in favor of a Palestinian state now. So we have something new on the agenda, which was not there before the 7th of October. And this changed the scene. Going back to Saudi Arabia, which was mentioned, before the Hamas attack, 7th of October 2023, it seemed as if Saudi Arabia and Israel are going to sign a normalization agreement. All of a sudden, the Hamas attack on the 7th of October, the Israeli counterattack out of proportion to the and the Saudis are now saying, no, we cannot accept it. We have to do something about the Palestinian state, and many other Muslim countries are all of a sudden starting talking about it again. I hope that I answer your question, because I didn't hear your question very well.
You didn't qualify them, though. You analyzed what has happened and the history of it for us, but you haven't graded them, or shall I say, qualify them, their behavior, their response to what is now known as a genocide, Israel's response in Gaza to October 7th.
Very strong negative reaction to what's happening there. Again, the Arab leaders and Muslim leaders all over the world find it very difficult to explain it to the street, to their people, what's going on, and they cannot possibly support what's going on. And therefore, at the moment, there is a tsunami diplomatic tsunami hitting Israel very hard from Western countries, but also from Muslim countries with which Israel had very good relationship before. There are tensions all of a sudden. Israel and Egypt, for example. I heard today, people talking about possible war in the future. Ooh, what's that? And therefore, a very strong reaction from Muslim countries all over the world about what's happening in Gaza, which some people define as genocide.
Ahron, yes, indeed, the reaction, but lack of action. We've heard a lot of diplomatic condemnation, but what about the action? And could their actions have actually stopped, at the very least, stopped the humanitarian disaster with regards to getting aid, food, water, etc. in?
You see, reaction. For example, if we take Egypt could have said, okay, we are going to suspend the peace that we signed back in 1979, but this will be such a big move. And it is sometimes difficult when you react to roll back. And therefore, you are absolutely right. What we hear is condemnations. We don't accept what you are doing, Israel. A more direct action, in fact, we can see more direct action in Western countries, in Europe, for example. Germany stopped selling engines to be used in Israeli tanks. That's a direct response. Slovenia yesterday banned Benjamin Netanyahu from entering the airspace of visiting the country. So we do see some direct action or response to what the Israelis are doing, but you were very specific in your question. In the Muslim world, what we see is more condemnations, words, than direct action. And if I may, we did have a direct response when Israel attacked Gaza. Hezbollah, for example, reacted. The ones who persist reacting directly to Israel are the Houthis in Yemen. And it is just, unbelievable. The Israelis bombed them massively. Yesterday, the Israelis attacked 65 targets in Yemen. But the Houthis persist. They are so stubborn. They keep sending their drones to Israel. And a couple of days ago, one drone landed in southern Israel in a place called Eilat, causing quite a lot of damage. So just to summarize, in answering your question, what we see in the Muslim world in reaction to what's happening in Gaza and the West Bank is words, etc. But in other parts of the world, Western Europe, we see direct response. Germany, Slovenia, and some other countries.
Indeed. Let's speak from your experience as a former IDF officer. So you served in the 1982 war with Lebanon and the 1970, especially as a young man that you are. Tell us about the difference that you saw in the execution of the wars that you took part in and the war or the genocide that's going on in Gaza now. Is there a difference? And if the way the IDF, or at least the way Israel is implementing the war, and if there is a difference, what sort of difference do you see? Can you tell us?
That's a fantastic question. Really, really interesting one. The big difference that I see is in the mood of the troops, of the soldiers, of the pilots, where what guides them, as I see it, I might be wrong, is revenge. Revenge, revenge. This is something that I've never seen before. In other words, the attack of 7th of October on Israel, a horrific attack on the 7th of October. And, I renounce it and denounce it, but from Hamas' point of view, from a military point of view, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. 10 out of 10 what they've managed to do militarily. To cross a very sophisticated fence to reach the settlements. Then they lost control. So the attack on Israel shocked them so much. So what you see in the troops, which was not in us in 1982 in the Lebanon War, is the feeling, and I can see it, I listen to troops talking in Gaza, the feeling of revenge. We have to teach them a lesson for what they've done to us. Not only physically, they also humiliated us. And therefore, revenge, which explains a lot what we see in the Gaza Strip, the damage and the way the soldiers express themselves. So revenge, and this really surprised me. It really surprised me.
Indeed, I think it surprised everybody. One of the things that we've learned in Israel's execution of the genocide in Gaza is the use of AI and drones. Of course, it's safe to say that didn't exist in your time. But what sort of, do you have an idea what sort of training Israel gives to the IDF officers? Because to those of us on the outside, it just seems like they send the drones and they just kill arbitrarily, irrespective of who lives there, whether they're just children, whether it's a school, indeed, even if it's a hospital or just a family house, given the way the Palestinian family structure is, they all live in one block, etc. Can you give us an insight into this kind of training that, if there is any training at all, that the officers get?
Yeah. You said that you want to come to the Department of War Studies. You don't have to come. You're fine. AI explains a lot of what we are seeing in Gaza, the amount of destruction. Let's just leave the question of training. Yes, of course, there is training. What AI enabled the Israelis to do, and will enable all of the armies in the world, is to collect many targets very quickly. Let me just explain it, because it is really interesting, I think. If you want to send an airplane to bomb somewhere, say in Gaza, you should give the airplane a target, a house. Now, in order to find where the house, who lives in the house, how big the house is, you need a soldier to sit down there and collect the information. And it takes time. Now you have this little machine, the AI, and you say to the AI, find me a house, 3 stories, a blue front, 2 trees, and the machine will find you 1,000 targets within a split of the minute, very, very, very quickly. And therefore, it enables militaries to bomb targets, a lot of targets, and to cause a lot of destruction, because they have many targets. In Gaza, there were so many targets produced by AI that Israeli airplanes had to park in the air, one after the other, to go and damage, to go and bomb, because they had all of a sudden so many targets. This is AI. AI changed the face of warfare. It is all, changing now. This explains why there is so much destruction in the Gaza Strip.
Indeed. I mean,
in addition,
go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
In addition to the fact that the soldiers are over motivated because this sense of revenge, and they have many targets. This is why we see so much damage in the Gaza Strip. AI is the future, a dark future, because there will be a lot of damage, because everything is done very quickly with the machine. And you have many soldiers in Israel trained to work with AI and collect all these targets.
Indeed. The recent figures that have been thrown around is something in excess of possibly 600,000 that have been killed in Gaza. We just, unfortunately, do not know the exact figure, but the official 69,000 upwards and over 150,000 injured and several more under the rubble, a vast majority of which are children. Yeah, go ahead. You want to say?
Look, when the war started, I predicted that between 50 and 60,000 Gazans, Palestinians, will be killed. When I said it back in 2023, end of 2023, people look at me as if I'm a polar bear. They say, not going to happen, unlikely. Now I would estimate that the number of people killed in the Gaza Strip will reach at least 100,000. At least 100,000. We've already reached more than 60,000. And there are thousands of people under the rubble, under the destruction, because 70% of Gaza is destroyed and they don't have the heavy machinery to get the bodies out. So we are going to reach, I believe, at least 100,000 people killed in the Gaza Strip. Now, most of them, and this is the important point, are innocent people who are not involved. Why? Because the Israelis say we killed 20,000 terrorists, what they call terrorists, Hamas members, which means that we are talking about 80,000 innocent people who were killed. This is a massive number. And the tragedy of Gaza will be very visible for us for many, many years and generations. It's not going to disappear because there are many people who were injured there, young people. There are hundreds of orphans, children who lost their parents, father and mother. And there are many people who lost their limbs. And therefore, it will be the scar, the memory of this war will go on for many years. It's a very long war. And when you have very long wars, there are many casualties. If you think about, just one more sentence.
Go ahead.
If you think about the 1967 war, when the Gaza Strip and the West Bank were occupied, it was all done in 2 days. There were very few casualties there because it was so quick. But now we have a war which is going for more than 700 days. This is a very long war, and there is an accumulation of injured people and dead people and people who will mentally be scarred for many, many years. Can you imagine 700 days to live in Gaza when you hear every night bombs landing not far from you? It will just drive you mad.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's a very, very tragic story. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about one of the things that I read out in your introduction was how you became disillusioned with the occupation. Now, you've argued that occupation corrodes both the occupier and the occupied. We've also then seen an Israel that's drifting into authoritarianism, isolation, tightening, censoring dissent, etc. Is what we're seeing the inevitable outcome of permanent occupation, that it eats away at the soul of the occupier as much as it crushes the occupied?
Yeah. Back in 1987, in December, the Palestinians on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip embarked on a big, what they call intifada, the first intifada, an uprising against the Israeli occupation. This is the winter of 1987. I was in Kathmandu, in Nepal, traveling on holiday, and I saw in a newspaper an Israeli soldier using the butt of his rifle hitting a Palestinian. I was shocked. And look, I had an experience of war at the time because I fought in 1982.
Yeah.
And it still shocked me, the personal meeting between an Israeli soldier and a Palestinian. And immediately after that, I sent a letter to Israel and said, I'm not going to serve in the occupied territories. I will not do that when I come back. And when I returned to Israel after a year of traveling in the Far East, I left Israel. I said, I'm not going to be part of it because, as you said, it's not only about the occupied, it's also about the occupier. Can you imagine young Israelis aged 18 stopping women in checkpoints, women who could be their grandmothers, and searching their body or searching their bags? It destroys the soul of the young men. Therefore, you have hundreds and thousands of Israelis who spent the last years doing just that, breaking into houses of families, into the bedroom of Palestinians in the middle of the night to search under the bed. It's not only humiliating for the Palestinians who are in their pajamas or for the children, but also for the young man, who does this horrific thing. The Israeli occupation is very, very long. Started in 1967, and it's going on, and it's becoming even worse now, especially on the West Bank. I don't want to divert our very interesting discussion about Gaza, but the West Bank.
The West Bank. Let's talk about the West Bank. Yes, absolutely, please.
There are 3 million Palestinians there living under Israeli occupation since 1967. And while our attention, even, us, we are talking about Gaza so much, and rightly so. I'm not saying that it's the wrong thing, because a terrible war, a terrible, event is taking place there, but under the radar, what the Israelis do on the West Bank is equally bad. Because what you have on the West Bank is about 500,000 settlers, Jewish settlers, who built settlements, villages, big and small, on the West Bank. And they are taking advantage of the Gaza war, because our attention is on the Gaza war, and they are taking advantage of the fact that in the government there are settlers as ministers, never heard before. You have settlers who are ministers, and the settlers on the ground in the West Bank are taking advantage of this situation, and together with the military on the West Bank, they are harassing the Palestinians putting pressure on villagers, so they will go, so they will leave. So the settlers could build more settlements. So it's terrible what's happening on the West Bank. And again, we keep focusing on the Gaza Strip, but terrible things
Of course.
are happening on the West Bank.
Well, you can't have a two-state solution without the West Bank and Gaza. They've got to be together, and perhaps it's a time for me to ask you that question, and I'm going to give you a minute to answer it. Given the expansion of the settlers and the settlements, with a huge line across and Gaza on the other side, how do you get a two-state solution? How is that possible? Is it going to be a case of somehow, if it ever comes to it, you have to build a bridge that doesn't touch Israel? Because right now, to get to the West Bank from Gaza, you've got to get permission from Israel because you're crossing zones. How is that possible? We speak of this two-state solution. People think it is easy. Those who really, really know that it is not easy. In fact, both options, which is the other option of a one-state solution, is also not easy. So how do we get the two-state solution that's been voted for overwhelmingly now? I'll give you a minute because I've got a couple more questions before I open up the line.
Sure. We need two things for a two-state solution. It will not happen unless, number one, the Palestinians keep fighting for it. This is number one. They must fight for it. They will not get it on a silver platter. There is no chance, not in a million years, that the Israelis will volunteer to give the land. You see, it is against human nature to give so much. There is water on the West Bank. There is a sea of water under the West Bank. There are holy sites, and therefore the Israelis are not going to give it. They have to fight for it, a non-violent, a Gandhi Indian sort of fight. Can you imagine? I know that I have only 1 minute. Can you imagine the Palestinians getting out 3 million people in the morning, holding flowers and walking into the streets of the West Bank? This would be a powerful impact. But
that might be a beautiful picture, but we hear of the extreme violence and the impunity of the settlers. So how do 3,000 Palestinians with flowers, who historically have really only ever fought with stones, face those who have guns and knives, etc.?
That's very true, but this is the one condition. I said there are going to be two. The other one is international pressure on Israel. International pressure. And we can see now the diplomatic, cultural, economic tsunami that hits Israel. Wow, every day we hear something new. You Israelis are not going to sing in the Eurovision next year. Microsoft stopped operating in Israel. Prime Minister cannot go to Slovenia, etc. And that was a combination of these two things. Palestinians having a non-violent intifada, and the international community putting pressure, and there is a good chance that we will go in the direction of a Palestinian state, which is also in the interest of Israel, but I will not go into it.
They've started calling. I've still got questions for you. I will not cheat my listeners because this is a very important, special and historic day. Right, you all get 30 seconds. Please you only get one question each. Please do not get carried away. I don't have the time today, sorry. Oh, you can call back. Right. Oh, they already started calling. Here we go. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Sugi.
Yes, good afternoon. What's your name? Where are you calling from, please?
This is Collins calling from Begleki.
Okay, Collins, you have one question, 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yes, please. Growing up, when I was hearing about Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I did hear of Gaza, West Bank, Golan Heights, and East Jerusalem. So recently, I've not been hearing anything about Golan Heights and East Jerusalem, which are contentious areas. Please let
Okay.
him educate me. Let me hear about them.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great question. He said, whilst he was growing up, that's Collins from Lekki. He said, whilst he was growing up, he used to hear about the Golan Heights and I think Jerusalem, I think. So he'd like you to comment to that because we're not hearing much about that. But hold on, write that down, Doc. I will be with you in a second. Let me take another question. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sister Oge.
Good afternoon, Emmanuel.
Yeah, so my question to your guest is, I, Emmanuel, when I see a Jew who is thirsty, I want to take a cup of water. There is this kind of restraint, that will come into me because of things I've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
And what will be the advice of your guest? Because this has painted all Jews, in one color.
Okay.
What would be the advice of your guest to persons like me?
For an ordinary
who is
person
now
like
aware
you.
of everything that is happening.
Thank you very much. That's Emmanuel. He's one of our regular callers and he's been incredibly honest. What he said was Emmanuel, now because of what's happened in Gaza, when he sees a Jew who asks him for a cup of water, he will hesitate to give them that cup of water. And what would you advise that ordinary people like Emmanuel, I guess, who are just reacting to human emotion, to the murders or to the deaths in Gaza, what would you advise them to do, or how would you advise them to handle it? Let me take one more and then I will let you answer. Doc, this is the speed round. If you call now, because I was going to give Dr. 3, here you go. Right, hello. Do we have any questions there? Hello, yes.
Hello.
Turn up, yes. Go to a quiet area, please. Yes. Yes.
This is Dalamasi from Sulere.
Go ahead, Pastor.
I love your guest. He's a Jew.
Yeah.
And his advice about the Gandhi-styled protest, that is Gandhi.
Yeah, we need 30 seconds, Pastor, but I must say we only need a question.
How will he suggest that? How will he suggest that kind of passive resistance?
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you. Right, Doc, I'm going to give you... Can you do those 3 questions in a minute and a half? Aaron, can you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. There
Jerusalem. In the future, hopefully there will be a Palestinian state. They will insist on East Jerusalem, El-Quds, Arab East Jerusalem, to be the capital. I believe that Jerusalem could be divided between Israel and the Palestinians. And there was a summit, Camp David summit, where they looked into it. I think that the future is division of Jerusalem, Golan Heights. Israel occupied the Golan Heights in 1967. If Israel wants a peace with the Syrians will insist on having the Golan Heights back. It will be relatively easy to return the Golan Heights because the settlers on the Golan Heights are not religious.
Right.
They are secular who are there mainly because they can produce very good wine on the Golan Heights.
Okay.
About Jews, about water. This was an interesting one. The war in Gaza it caused a massive damage to Jewish communities throughout the world. And I can see it in London. What's happening in London. I believe that when we get the ceasefire very soon, inshallah, things will calm down and Jewish and non-Jewish relationship will be improved. Passive resistance.
Yeah.
If the Palestinians go into violent resistance as they did during the second Intifada from 2005, the Israelis will take advantage of it and hit back very hard. If the Palestinians send suicide bombers or do such attacks, the Israelis will convince the world that the only way to deal with it is with tanks and bombers. Therefore, my advice to the Palestinians, number 1, you have to resist. Number 2, Do it a passive resistance. This is your best chance.
Excellent. Right, you can call now. I couldn't answer your call because I didn't want to interrupt our guest. I'm coming to your calls. Short, sharp, please, succinct. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Sisioge. Good evening. Emmanuel from Lagos.
Go ahead, Mano. Your question.
Yeah, I want to find out. What I heard was that this whole conflict started way back, thousands of years way back when Islamic jihadists took over the Jewish land. How true is this?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mano. Right. That's okay. Once that one, did you get that question, Aaron? He was asking about, yes. Okay. Hello.
Good afternoon, Sisioge.
Good afternoon. What's your name? Where are you calling from, please?
Yeah. Femi from Elegushi.
Go ahead, Femi.
I have a question for your guest.
Go ahead.
When there was a peace talk for ceasefire.
Oslo, yes, or this recent one?
Israel, yes. Before this one. There was
Oslo.
A talk,
Oslo.
Yes. Ceasefire. Israel stopped the ceasefire. What happens that the Hamas still went on? Because I discovered that Israel stopped.
Sorry, are you, hold on.
Not to stop.
Hold on, are you talking about the ceasefire in this current Gaza genocide? Or are you talking about,
yes.
Okay, all right. You heard that Israel stopped with the ceasefire, but Hamas carried on.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Carried on. And the whole world heard about it. So whatever Israel to do now, why do they not consider the first ceasefire?
Okay, thank you. Right, okay, and I'll take one more. I'll let you correct that notion. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, very quickly.
Good afternoon, but I must be back. I want to know it's like a proxy war now. America.
I need a question, sir. There is no time.
How do you remove America from this proxy war thing?
Okay, all right, okay. How do you remove America from the equation? Right, okay. The question is, how do you remove America from the equation? The last call I'm going to take, so you can answer. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Sisioge.
Good evening.
Maduka from Festac.
Go ahead, Maduka.
Yeah, I just want to ask, your guest rightly said that the occupation, the war, the genocide, the humiliation, everything have messed up the minds of the young, both young Israelis and young Palestinians.
Yeah.
These are the future. These are the future.
Yeah.
One state, two state, whatever solution. Will it work with this thing with the mind messed up?
Excellent question. Thank you.
What is the likely solution?
I understand. Right. So his question is even if you have a two-state solution, given the damage on both sides, especially what you said about the occupier and the occupied, how the whole occupation damages everybody, will the two-state solution actually work? Right. Doc, Aaron, I'm going to give you 2 minutes for all of those. I know you can do it. We don't have time.
I'll just raise your hand when I have to stop.
Okay.
I'll start with the last one because I remember it. The two-state solution is the only way forward because you have to separate them. Separation is good. You have a wall or you have a border, and after 100 years, which is nothing in history, you get rid of the wall and they can live together. It's like France and Germany. You know, when I traveled there many years ago, I had to show my passport crossing from Germany to France. Now you don't have to do it anyway. And therefore the solution is separation. You let the two countries develop their own life, etc. And then you remove the separation. That's the only one. About America, you cannot remove America from the equation. The Israelis will insist on the Americans to be involved. The Israelis don't trust the Europeans, especially the French. The Israelis don't want the Europeans involved. The Israelis don't trust the United Nations. Do you know why, if I may? Until the 1960s, the Israelis trust the United Nations. The United Nations offered the land to Israel in 1948. But in the 1960s, many African countries join the United Nations because of independence. You know about it better than me. Now, many of them are Muslim, and therefore there was automatic a vote
shift
for the. Yeah, it shifted, and therefore the Israelis don't trust the Europeans, they don't trust the United Nations, and they trust the Americans. And therefore it is unlikely that Americans will get out of the equation. About the first question, it is really important to remember that the Israeli-Palestinian, Israeli-Arab conflict is not a religious conflict. It is a secular conflict. It's about territory, West Bank, Gaza, Israel, etc. It is a territorial conflict with religious elements in it, Jerusalem, etc. I hope that I answered this question. Yeah, and the one about the ceasefire I didn't get. If you remember it, or if you...
he said that there was a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel, and then that he heard that Hamas broke the ceasefire. First of all, we need you to
I just want to correct him. The ones who broke the ceasefire were the Israelis, in fact.
Thank you.
Because Netanyahu was not interested in a ceasefire. He got some of the hostages back, and then he broke the ceasefire. They were supposed to restart negotiations of ceasefire, but he broke the ceasefire and went into Gaza.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahron. They're telling me I've got to go. My next guest is waiting, but I know it's gone so fast.
Really?
But you've got to come back, Doc. You have to come back.
I must say that I was very excited when I heard that I was asked to give an interview to Nigerian radio, because this is my first ever interview done in Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Well, we've enjoyed having you. Like I said, you're coming back whether you like it or not now. Have a superb weekend.
More talk, more
the best. After this. Bye-bye. Thank you.
That special secret that awakens taste buds. Mouth-watering wonder with awesome aroma. Terra seasoning cubes.
Terra seasoning cube turns your meals into a masterpiece.
Unwrap joy, unleash taste. Hey, come cook with Terra cubes. Come cook with Terra.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.